Madam Speaker, thank you. First, let me begin by thanking the good Senator Yangu, for thinking about the diversification of our cash crops in this country. Madam Speaker, I've had a chance to go through the bill. Although I support the bill, I've got various reservations, and I've just had a chat with her on some of the things that she ought to change in the bill, which I will speak about here. Madam Speaker, first of all, let me just give a small brief history of this country when it comes to the issue of cotton growing. At one point, this country was producing quite a lot of cotton. In fact, when cotton was introduced, you'll find a lot of textile industries which were flourishing. In Uasin Gishu County, we have the Kenya textile industries located there. They were doing very well. At that time, we didn't have a lot of mitumbas. And I think by concentrating everything to Nairobi is what ended up killing the cotton industry in this country. If you go to our hospitals, before, our local hospitals, even if they were not devolved, people will go to makwiny, Machakos, Lamu, and get cottons that they can be able to use in hospitals. Our farming, or rather livestock industry, was benefiting a lot from cotton seeds, which gives energy and proteins to cows. Today, Madam Speaker, as a farmer, I import all my cotton feeds, or the seeds, from Uganda. I get it as a byproduct, which the factories in Uganda have already removed the oil. They have already taken out other minerals from the cotton to be able, first of all, to make oil. Number two, they have also created soaps. They have also taken that cotton to be able to make fabric, and they have sold it at higher prices. Here, we are getting the byproduct. But when we are getting this byproduct, it is also very, very expensive. So I think, Madam Speaker, these are the kind of bills or legislations that we have to bring to this House. One, the reason why I support this bill, although there are areas which I do not, and I'm going to talk about them, is that agriculture is devolved. And this House should be in the front line of passing legislation that promotes devolved functions. My biggest problem that I've had with this bill is the fact that the proposed board, which is going to be set up, is going to be headquartered here in Nairobi, a place where they do not even produce any cotton. Why are we not comfortable with county governments building themselves? Why are we so much into this issue of giving the national government all the powers? Madam Speaker, the day we recognize the fact that our counties are very important for us, and they are very important for the people on the ground, is the day that we'll begin making legislations that will make sure that even if it is those boards, they are only set up in the county levels. If you look at the budget, Madam Speaker, and this year's budget is a very interesting budget, which all of us will cry, because the budget, I dare say, this year's budget is not even being drafted by the members of parliament of this country. It is a foreign budget, maybe drafted by the IMF and the World Bank because of the debt that we are in. But if we are to develop a budget and give our counties money, there's really no reason as to why we should set up a board for the Cotton Development Board, and you have it headquartered here, and you give the president the power to appoint the chairperson of that board. Why are we doing that? Madam Speaker, I want to persuade my dear sister to change that and deny this national government that power. The biggest problem we have is that we are yet to agree that we have moved away from the central government structure. We now have two arms of government. We have two levels of government. We have the national government and we have the county government. Give all the powers to the county governments. Don't deny this national government power. You are saying you have devolved agriculture, but the majority of the money is left here in Nairobi. You say you've devolved health, but the majority of the money is left here in Nairobi. Why are we lying to ourselves? I have a big problem, Madam Speaker, of drafting legislation using a colonial mind. Set up a board. Why are we over-legislating? I mean, it's completely ludicrous. What we need to do is to support our counties. Agriculture is devolved. If you look at the objects, a memorandum of this bill, at the last page it says, there's a big question that is asked. It says, statement on how bill concerns county governments. And it clearly says there, agriculture is a devolved function set out in paragraph 1 of part 2 of the 4th schedule of the Constitution. By facilitating the development of the cotton industry in the county, the bill seeks to ensure that cotton farmers have opportunities to enhance cotton farming and value addition to cotton products. Now tell me, if you put a headquarter here in Nairobi, how is a farmer in Narok going to benefit from that? How is a farmer in Makwiny going to benefit from that? How is a farmer in Lamu, how is a farmer in Tana River going to benefit from that? Put the headquarters there in the cotton growing region. Who says that cotton cannot be grown in Narok? If cotton can be grown in Homa Bay and part of Siaya, I dare say that part of Narok County, the soil, if you look at this, if you analyze the soil, they can also grow cotton there. So let us promote our counties. You know, whatever is devolved, let us make legislation that supports counties. Now, others might come up with an argument and say that not every part of Kenya grows cotton. Make those parts of Kenya grow cotton. You know, Madam Speaker, I come from a school of thoughts where if you give me a stone, I'll boil that stone and I'll drink the soup. Because at least I'll have to make something out of it. We are in a time when we can use science. Why is it that whenever we travel to other countries, we are very happy to come and say, oh, I was in Italy, I was in Brazil. If you see the way they do agriculture, the way they promote their industries, you know, we're so happy to clap for those countries, but when we come back here, we just sit and we put everything to Nairobi. We give more power to the president. We give more power to the Minister of Agriculture. Then why don't we just say, to hell with this issue of devolution, and let's go back to the colonial period of a central government. Those are the things that I do not support, and I hope that my sister can be able to change that. Remove this issue of saying, headquarters of the board shall be Nairobi. In fact, what we should be saying, and this is why we now need to talk to our brothers in the National Assembly. Because even if our brothers in the National Assembly oversight national government, they come from our counties. They are the ones who are fighting for CDF, which is something which I do not completely believe in, because we have counties. The reason why our counties are not doing well is because instead of supporting devolution, we are busy, you know, taking away money from devolution. We need to have a conversation with our brothers in the National Assembly. And we tell them, when it comes to budget making process or the appropriation of the budget, what we need to do is to make sure we send more money to counties. If it is this county, Makwiny, Tana River, you know, we've got the coastal region, we have about 5 counties, all of them, Kwale, Kilifi, Lamu, Taita Taveta, Tana River. If it is in central, Kiambu, Kirinyaga, Murang'a. If it is in Rift Valley, Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, Kajiado, Southeast, Kericho, Turkana, West Pokot, make sure when it comes to the issue of the budget, if it goes to the issue of the agricultural docket, sit down, talk to the Minister of Agriculture, and you, the MPs who are sitting down in that budget committee, if you are the ones who are really making this budget, ensure that your regions have got money to grow the cotton industry. Madam Speaker, it is a shame that now we are only producing 25,000 bales in this country. And the demand is over 200,000 bales. Yet, we used to pride ourselves as being, even right now we are priding ourselves as being one of the richest country in the Eastern Central Africa. We must practice what we preach. And the moment we realize that our counties are important is the day that we'll continue developing them. What I like about the bill is that it envisions a situation where it creates employment, It helps farmers, but those farmers will not be assisted by 100% policy. Because when you talk about the representation of the members of the board, that they have to take their cue from Nairobi. Nairobi, there's very little agriculture here. How do you think a farmer who has got no clue where Nairobi is, and I dare say there are so many people who have never seen Nairobi, Madam Speaker. In fact, from your own county, there are people who don't even know Nairobi exists. They don't even know anything else exists apart from their neighborhood, because that's what they have. How do you expect that farmer, who is very intelligent, to be able to benefit from this board? Today, Madam Speaker, earlier on, and I was causing a lot of havoc with my sister, 27-year-old senator. We reduce money that has been set aside by the Constitution to go to counties. This is on the equalization fund. We have reduced over 3 billion. And what excuse do we have? Treasury does not have money. The Constitution says set aside a certain amount of money every year. Treasury should have been setting aside that money. So we've reduced that money. You've denied my county money, which is supposed to get. But one of the things that really annoys me is that all these boards, now there's an equalization secretariat. It takes about 416 million. For what? What is that secretariat doing? Taking away 416 million. So you've reduced that to about 300 and something million. Now here, you're also talking about this board. This board will also have a budget allocated to it. A lot of money. Instead of taking that money to counties, so that in the agricultural budget of each and every county, they can allocate money to employ field officers who will be able to go into those cotton growing regions and support young farmers. There's absolutely no way we are going to change this country if all we think about is establishing boards, which consist of a chairperson appointed by the president by notice of gazette. You are creating more jobs. This is so interesting, Madam Speaker, because you keep on saying our wage bill is bloated, and you are creating them more here. I want to persuade my sister, although now the bill is a property of this house, but I want to persuade her to scrap all that, and now let us begin drafting legislation, keeping in mind what is happening in our counties. Not every legislation that we develop must have a board. We are just creating more jobs for a few individuals who are known, and the rest will not get it. Finally, Madam Speaker, as I wind up, I want to remind Kenyans of the tough times we have ahead. This is going to be one of the most punitive years of our lives. Only farming and agriculture, if we go back to our old days, old ways of doing things, will be able to support us. I want to plead with county governments to allocate more money into the agricultural sector, into their agricultural dockets, and ensure that they take advantage of these rains. If we don't take advantage of these rains, it is going to be very difficult for people to survive. Today, Madam Speaker, if you board a boda, a place where we used to pay 50 shillings to ride on that boda, it is 200 shillings now because of the cost of living. The cost of living is going so high. It is a time when government is supposed to spend more money but not overtax people. All these legislation that we are proposing here, that we want to pass, they will only become good on paper, because even the ministers will not have the powers to be able to cause them to be implemented. I want to request my brothers in the National Assembly to think twice before passing a finance bill, which we know it will affect farmers. And that finance bill, they don't even know what is in it, because they are not the ones who have drafted it. These are foreign things. It's about time that we take pride of who we are as a country. We learn to live within our means and do away with all this taxation. It is going to be so bad Madam Speaker, it is like feeding a cow during a dry season with wet forage. You know what happens? The stomach swells, and for you to maintain that cow, you will have to make a big hole in the tummy. This time around, since nobody is going to be there to